Welcome back to Creator Age,
Yeah,
where we explore the ideas and strategies that help creators thrive in today's world.
right.
Today, we're diving deep into something fundamental for any creator,
Right.
or really anyone who wants to achieve their goals.
Yeah.
The power of routines and self-created goals.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where you're not just going through the motions, but actively shaping your destiny.
Right.
That's what we're unpacking today.
Okay.
The power of creating your own game, your own rules, and your own path to success as a creator.
It's fascinating how this idea of taking control applies to so many aspects of a creator's journey.
Yeah.
Without a routine and goals you've set for yourself, you risk adopting a path laid out by society,
Right.
which can often lead to a life that feels misaligned and unfulfilling.
Yeah.
It's like if you don't create a routine, you'll be assigned one by default.
That's such a powerful thought.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the concept of a social matrix. Almost like an invisible set of expectations and goals that subtly shape our choices if we aren't actively setting our own.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Think of it this way.
Okay.
Society often provides a default operating system for how to live,
Right.
complete with preset goals.
Okay.
Get a job, climb the ladder, retire at 65.
Right.
But what if those goals don't resonate with you?
Mm-hmm.
What if you want to create something new, build a business, or express yourself in a unique way?
Yeah.
That's where the power of self-created goals and routines comes in.
Okay.
You start playing a game with rules you've designed,
Mm-hmm.
rules that support your vision.
I love that analogy.
Yeah,
It's like choosing to create your own video game instead of playing one that someone else has designed.
right.
You get to decide the objectives, the challenges, and ultimately the rewards.
Exactly.
But how do routines specifically help us achieve those self-created goals?
Routines are the foundation for turning your aspirations into reality. They provide the structure and consistency needed to turn actions into habits,
Right.
making them seamless and intuitive over time.
Mm-hmm.
Think of a basketball player who, through constant practice, reaches a point where their movements become fluid and effortless.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about each step.
Right.
They're just in the flow.
That's such a great analogy.
Yeah.
It's like they've trained their muscle memory to the point where the actions become second nature.
Right.
It makes me think, how does this concept apply to the mental side of things?
Mm-hmm.
How do routines train our minds?
Just like a basketball player trains their physical body routines, train the invisible building of our minds.
Okay.
They combat mental entropy, that tendency for things to fall into disorder,
Right.
and cultivate clarity and focus.
Yeah.
Instead of constantly reacting to the chaos of daily life, a routine helps you proactively shape your days and direct your energy towards what matters most.
Right.
It brings a sense of order to the internal world.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So routines are like the scaffolding that helps us build the structure of our days and ultimately our lives.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't just focus on one aspect of life, right?
Right.
There's more to it than just work or just personal development.
Absolutely.
Okay.
To truly thrive, we need to consider all aspects of our being.
Right.
I like to think of it as 4 pillars:
Okay.
mind, body, business, and relationships.
Yeah.
If you aren't building your mind, body, business, and relationships every single day,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing? Is
Yeah.
there anything more important than that?
I love that framework.
Yeah.
It highlights the importance of holistic development,
Right.
recognizing that true success isn't just about achieving one goal, but about nurturing all areas of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we make sure we're giving each pillar the attention it deserves?
It all comes down to setting goals that are aligned with each of these pillars.
Okay.
A strong mind can drive a successful business,
Mm-hmm.
but neglecting your body can undermine your mental clarity and energy. Nurturing relationships can provide support and joy,
Yeah.
which can fuel your creative endeavors.
Okay.
It's all interconnected.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like a system where each part is dependent on the others to function properly.
Right.
You can't neglect one area without impacting the others.
Exactly.
But I've always struggled with something.
Okay.
How do we differentiate between simply doing what we want
Mm-hmm.
and actually aligning our actions with a deeper purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those lines get blurred,
Right.
especially in the world of content creation where trends and instant gratification can be so tempting.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's easy to fall into the trap of chasing fleeting pleasures and mistaking that for freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But I think true enjoyment comes from progress towards goals that resonate with our core values,
Right.
not from quick wins or external validation. It's
Yeah.
about connecting with that intrinsic motivation that drives us to create and contribute in a way that feels truly fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how do we tap into that intrinsic motivation?
Mm-hmm.
How do we distinguish between the desires of our ego,
Right.
like chasing trends or seeking quick validation,
Right.
and those deeper aspirations that are truly aligned with our purpose?
It starts with self-awareness.
Oh,
We need to ask ourselves tough questions like,
oh.
what truly matters to me?
Right.
What kind of impact do I want to make on the world?
Okay.
What legacy do I want to leave behind?
Right.
These questions go beyond surface-level desires and tap into our core values.
Mm.
When we understand our values, we can set goals that feel meaningful and pursue them with a sense of purpose that transcends fleeting trends.
I'm starting to see how all of this connects.
Yeah.
But how can creators specifically apply this to their work?
Right.
How can they cultivate that sense of alignment between their content, their actions, and their aspirations, especially in such a fast-paced and often chaotic industry?
For creators, it's about finding that sweet spot where your passion, your skills, and the needs of your audience intersect. It's about creating work that not only resonates with others, but also feels authentic to you.
Right.
And that authenticity often comes from aligning your creative output with those deeper values we were just talking about. It's like you don't need motivation or discipline when you are the person who would take certain actions.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
When you're truly aligned with your purpose, the work doesn't feel like a chore.
Right.
It feels like an extension of who you are.
Exactly.
So how can creators practically implement this idea of aligning their actions with their aspirations? Where do they even begin?
It starts with identifying the problems that you genuinely want to solve,
Okay.
that were in your own life or in the lives of your audience.
Right.
These problems become the driving force behind your goals. Once you have those goals, you can craft a routine that supports you in achieving them.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's about moving beyond the surface level and really connecting with the why behind your work.
Right.
It's about becoming the kind of creator who naturally gravitates towards actions that contribute to a greater purpose.
Exactly.
But how do we actually go about building a routine that supports this holistic approach to life and creative work? Where do we even begin?
I find it helpful to think of it as reversing entropy,
Okay.
that tendency towards chaos.
Right.
By focusing on those 4 pillars we discussed, mind, body, business, and relationships.
Okay.
Each pillar requires specific inputs to thrive.
Right.
For your mind, that might be reading, learning, or engaging in creative activities.
Yeah.
For your body, it's about movement, nutrition, and rest. For your business, it's about taking action, refining your skills, and serving your audience.
Okay.
And for relationships, it's about meaningful connection, communication, and support.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's like giving each pillar the nourishment it needs to grow strong,
Right.
but it can feel overwhelming to try and do all of that at once, especially for creators who are often juggling multiple projects, deadlines, and the demands of building an online presence.
Right.
Where do we even begin?
You're right. It can feel daunting at first.
Yeah.
The key is to start small.
Okay.
Identify one small habit you can implement in each area. Maybe it's reading for 15 minutes a day,
Right.
taking a 30-minute walk,
Okay.
reaching out to a friend or family member, or spending an hour working on a side project.
Yeah.
The important thing is to build consistency.
Okay.
Small steps repeated over time create momentum.
That resonates with me.
Yeah,
It's about focusing on progress, not perfection.
right.
But speaking of learning and expanding our knowledge, the idea of self-education comes to mind.
Okay.
It's something that's often emphasized for creators, especially in a constantly evolving landscape.
Right.
How can creators specifically leverage self-education to stay ahead of the curve?
Self-education is absolutely essential for creators. It expands our awareness, helps us understand the world in a deeper way, and allows us to challenge our assumptions, explore new perspectives, and continuously evolve our thinking,
Right.
while formal education provides a valuable foundation. True learning happens when we actively seek out knowledge that's relevant to our goals and our craft.
Yeah.
It's like schools teach you a fraction of what actually exists in reality.
That's a thought-provoking statement.
Yeah,
It reminds us that education doesn't end when we leave school.
right.
It's a lifelong pursuit, especially for creators who need to adapt and evolve to stay relevant.
Exactly.
With so much information available, how do we make sure we're focusing on the right kind of self-education?
It's about being intentional with what you consume.
Okay.
Seek out information that aligns with your interests, your goals, and your desire to grow as a creator. That
Mm.
might involve reading books, listening to podcasts, taking online courses, attending workshops, or simply engaging in conversations with people who inspire you.
So self-education is about curating your own learning experience
Yeah.
based on your unique needs and
Right.
aspirations. It's about recognizing that knowledge is power,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the world of content creation.
Yeah,
But knowledge is only valuable if we apply it, right?
exactly.
That brings us to the idea of skill acquisition, which I think is crucial for creators.
Okay.
How do we bridge the gap between learning and doing?
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's not enough to simply consume information.
Right.
We need to develop the skills necessary to put that knowledge into action.
Okay.
The difference between where you are and where you want to be is skill. And the
Mhm.
beautiful thing is that skills can be trained,
Right.
just like any muscle.
Okay.
We can learn to write, create videos, build websites, market our work, and so much more.
Yeah.
It's all about focused practice and a willingness to experiment and learn along the way.
That's so encouraging.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we all have the potential to grow and develop new skills, regardless of our starting point. But skill development takes time, effort, and consistency.
Right.
How do we integrate this into a routine that's already packed with other important activities?
One helpful approach is to break down your goals into smaller, more manageable steps,
Okay.
and then identify the specific skills needed to achieve each step.
Right.
For example, if your goal is to launch a podcast, you might need to learn about audio editing, storytelling marketing, and audience engagement.
Yeah.
Then you can allocate specific time slots in your routine for practicing those skills.
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
It's about taking a strategic approach to skill development and weaving it into the fabric of our daily lives.
exactly.
But sometimes simply knowing what skills to develop can be a challenge. How do we identify the gaps in our skill set and figure out where to focus our efforts?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It starts with honestly assessing your current abilities
Okay.
and then identifying the areas where you'd like to improve. This might involve seeking feedback from others, reflecting on past projects, or simply paying attention to the areas where you feel most challenged or intimidated.
Yeah.
Remember, learning comes from struggle, not memorization. The areas where you feel the most resistance are often the areas where you have the most potential for growth.
That's a powerful insight.
Yeah.
It's about reframing our perspective on challenges and seeing them as opportunities for learning and expansion.
Right.
But with all of this talk about routines, goals, and skill development, it can feel a bit overwhelming to try and put it all together. What does a practical, personalized routine actually look like for a creator?
Right.
Can we dive into some specific examples?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are countless ways to structure a routine,
Mm-hmm.
and the best approach will vary depending on your individual needs, goals, and preferences.
Right.
But here's an example of a routine that incorporates many of the elements we've been discussing.
I'm all ears.
Okay.
Walk me through it. Imagine starting your day with a 30-minute walk.
Yeah. This isn't just about exercise.
Mm-hmm.
It's about clearing your mind, getting fresh air, and priming your creative energy.
Right.
Then you might spend an hour or two engaged in deep work,
Okay.
focusing on your most important tasks,
Right.
like writing, creating content, or strategizing for your business.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you could take a break for lunch and some light exercise,
Okay.
like yoga or stretching to recharge your body and mind.
Okay, I'm already feeling more energized just hearing about this routine.
Yeah.
What comes next?
In the afternoon, you might dedicate a few hours to learning and skill development.
Okay.
This could involve reading a book, taking an online course, or practicing a specific skill related to your creative work.
Right.
Then, as the day winds down, you might schedule time for connecting with others,
Okay.
whether it's spending time with loved ones, collaborating with colleagues, or engaging with your online community.
Yep.
Finally, you'd wrap up the day with some relaxing activities like reading, listening to music, or spending time in nature to prepare for a restful night's sleep.
That sounds like an incredibly well-rounded routine.
Yeah.
It seems to encompass all four pillars: mind, body, business, and relationships.
Right.
But I imagine it takes a lot of discipline and effort to maintain such a structured approach to life, especially for creators who are often dealing with unpredictable schedules and the demands of a constantly evolving industry.
Right.
How do we stay consistent when things inevitably get chaotic?
Consistency is key, but
Yeah.
it's not about being rigid. It's
Okay.
about creating a framework that provides structure while also allowing for flexibility.
Right.
The best routines are adaptable and can be adjusted based on changing circumstances.
Hmm.
For example, if you have a busy day filled with meetings or appointments,
Right.
you might need to shorten your deep work sessions or reschedule your learning time for later in the evening.
Okay.
The key is to prioritize your non-negotiables,
Yeah.
those activities that are essential for your well-being and productivity,
Yeah.
and then build the rest of your routine around those core elements.
That's such a helpful tip.
Yeah.
It's about finding a balance between structure and flexibility,
Right.
recognizing that life is unpredictable and our routines need to adapt accordingly.
Exactly.
But I'm curious, how do you personally approach routine creation and adaptation?
Hmm.
What strategies have you found helpful in your own life and work?
I've learned that routine creation is an ongoing process of experimentation and refinement.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works best for you and being willing to adjust as needed.
Right.
For me, it's been helpful to start by identifying my non-negotiables, like getting enough sleep, exercising regularly, and dedicating time to creative work each day.
Yeah.
Then I build the rest of my routine around those core activities,
Okay.
making sure to include time for learning, connecting with others, and engaging in activities that bring me joy.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about viewing routines as a tool for supporting our goals and well-being,
Right.
not as a rigid set of rules that we must follow perfectly.
Exactly.
But I'm wondering, how do we avoid falling into the trap of becoming too attached to a routine and resisting change, especially as our needs and priorities evolve?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's easy to become complacent and stick to a routine, even when it's no longer serving us.
Right.
The key is to stay mindful and regularly assess whether your routine is still aligned with your goals and your current season of life.
Okay.
If it's not, don't be afraid to make adjustments.
Hmm.
Experiment with different approaches, try new things, and see what works best for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about viewing routines as a living document,
Right.
something that can be adapted and refined as we learn and grow.
Exactly.
But I imagine it can be challenging to stick to a routine, especially in the face of distractions, setbacks, or unexpected changes.
Right.
How do we maintain consistency when things inevitably get chaotic?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Life is full of surprises, and it's impossible to predict everything that might come our way.
Right.
But that's where the power of mindset comes in. It's
Right.
about developing a sense of resilience and adaptability, recognizing that setbacks are a normal part of the process and viewing them as opportunities for learning and growth.
Right.
It's not about striving for perfection, but about getting back on track when we inevitably fall off.
So it's about being kind to ourselves, acknowledging that we're all human and focusing on progress, not perfection.
Exactly.
That's such a powerful reminder.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off and allows us to approach routine creation with a more compassionate and realistic mindset.
Right.
This entire conversation has been incredibly insightful.
Well, I'm glad you think so.
I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for approaching my goals and my daily life with more intention, structure, and flexibility.
That's great to hear.
But before we wrap up this part of our conversation,
Okay.
I'd love to hear your final thoughts on this idea of routines as a tool for supporting creative work and a fulfilling life. What's the key takeaway for our listeners?
The key takeaway is that routines are not about restriction, but about empowerment. They're about creating a framework that supports you in living a more intentional and fulfilling life,
Right.
both creatively and personally.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a routine that aligns with your goals and values, you free up mental energy and create space for inspiration, creativity, and growth.
That's such a powerful way to look at it.
Yeah.
Routines are like the foundation that allows us to build the life we want.
Exactly.
This has been an amazing conversation.
I agree.
I'm already thinking about how I can apply these principles to my own life.
I hope you do.
And for those of you listening, if you found this deep dive into routines and self-created goals interesting, be sure to subscribe for more explorations into the world of creativity, entrepreneurship, and personal growth.